I'm Chris Smith. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Hi everybody. So I've got some questions here from some channel members that I put in the community post, which is for channel members only. And not everybody saw it. It is what it is. But I'm going to go through a couple of these questions and answer them for them. And if any of you want to become a channel member, in the description box. Anyway, David Woods asks this. My question is this. Is boxing in danger of losing its biggest stars to Skill Challenge and Riyadh season? Let me elaborate. Usyk has recently signed up with Skills, as we know. I'm not quite sure what the contract is, but I can see that sometime in the future, the Saudis will be enticing the biggest boxing stars to sign up with them by offering huge amounts of money and contracts. This will mean they have control of the boxers and possibly TV rights. It's not beyond the realm that they could then ask individual broadcasters to bid on a particular boxing show in order to showcase a particular night of boxing. Golf and the top football stars are already signed up and playing in the Middle East. Neymar is one of the biggest football stars in the world, has just signed up, and many more will follow. I know Eddie Hearn has a good relationship with Prince Khalid, but won't stop them from poaching boxers. The Saudis want to keep paying out mega millions to put on boxing shows when they could save a lot of money by signing the boxers direct. Anyway, just my thoughts on what could possibly happen if we're not careful. Right, so good question. So the Saudis, I suppose one of the questions that fly around at the minute is, are the Saudis good for boxing or are they bad for boxing? Well, ultimately, they want to show their might. They want to get involved in the biggest possible way in boxing that they can. And the way that they can do it is they can afford to throw money at things. Now, I don't think that the money will always be there in the sense of they're always going to pay out the kind of money that they are currently. At the minute, it's all about showcasing that Saudi is a good place to visit, which is why they put on some shows, some big shows in Saudi Arabia. Come and visit Saudi. It's not what you think it is. It's a very nice place to be. Come on in. So they're really trying to promote tourism. But of course, when it comes to money, currently, and the longer that this goes on, yes, of course, there's going to be a lot of fighters who will only take certain fights for huge amounts of money that only the Saudis, and even those over in Dubai and whatever else, and Qatar, can afford. The UK and America and Germany and they can't compete with that kind of money because the money isn't there. Unless you're going to ramp up the pay-per-view prices ridiculously high and the gate receipts, then ultimately what's going to happen there is people are not going to buy the pay-per-views and people are not going to turn up to the live events. So they're limited as to what they can do. But ultimately, as you mentioned there, with the footballers going over there, like Ronaldo's over there and Neymar's going to go over there and whatever else, but they can afford to do it. They can afford to do it. Now, my club, the team that I support is Newcastle United. This is where I'm from. This is where I currently live. Spent a bit of time away, of course, you can tell by my accent. But the Saudis have bought St James's Park. They bought Newcastle United. So, of course, they're investing quite a lot of money. But they haven't gone in there and signed up Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar and everything straight away. They are structuring it in a certain way to build. They're looking to build for the future, which is why they've signed some young talent there as well. But again, of course, they have to play within the fair rules play, if you like, for money spending. But when it comes to boxing, there is no fair rules. In boxing, you can spend whatever money that you want to get whatever kind of fight that you want. Now, ultimately, it is going to get to a case of only big name fighters are going to want to fight each other when there's astronomical fees out there. Because while you could fight somebody at Wembley Stadium and earn, I don't know, 25, 30 million, for example, well, you can double that, maybe quadruple that by fighting in Saudi Arabia. So suddenly, 20 million here in the UK, which is a stupid amount of money, doesn't seem like a lot, does it? So yes, of course, there is a danger that fights may not happen, because ultimately, again, you see, you have to look at it as well, that the Saudis will only want certain fights. And there's going to be like a lot of fighters out there. Okay, one example will be Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. Now, is that the kind of fight that the Saudis are interested in? Well, clearly not. But it could have been a case of some egos could have got in the way where Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford went, but I want the kind of money that Joshua got to fight Ruiz, or Usyk got to fight Joshua, or Fury's getting to fight Ngannou, or whatever. So therefore, we're not going to fight each other. So, yeah, absolutely, there is a real danger. But as I said, I don't see it lasting forever. At some point, and as you mentioned there, they are going to sign up some fighters directly under contract, whether that be through Skilled Challenge, whether that be to sign up to do the events over there at a Riyadh season. You know, at some point, they're actually going to sign fighters. Now, will that mean that they limit themselves to just putting on shows in Saudi? I don't know. I really don't know. But ultimately, it can get to a point where fighters just are not going to fight each other unless they're getting the kind of money that others have been getting in Saudi. Much like, if you remember when DAZN first got into boxing, they were handing out stupid amounts of money to fighters like Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas and all these kind of ones, and Daniel Jacobs and whatever else. And listen, I like all those fighters, but they weren't worth the kind of money that they were getting. The point is that they were trying to make an impact. And I think that's what Saudis are doing right now, making an impact. But I suppose, unlike DAZN, where DAZN have limited funds, at some point, you know, the coffers are going to be drawing on empty. The Saudis, especially when it's government ran, it is like an endless pool of money. To them, I suppose, it's like playground money, isn't it? It's not that important to them. But to fighters, I mean, can it ruin boxing? Possibly. Anyway, listen, I could do an entire video on that one. If you want me to, let me know. Anyway, so we've got another question here. Big plans, little drive. Big up. If the Fury Usyk fight happens, including a rematch, do you think that Fury will dodge AJ? He could retire with 90% of the country thinking AJ wasn't on his level, or take the risk being beaten by AJ and no longer being the GOAT, which he isn't, in my opinion. Okay, so if Fury does fight Usyk, and of course including the rematch, regardless of whether Fury wins or he doesn't, will he fight AJ? I suppose it depends on what his motivation is for money. Because outside of Usyk, where else is he going to earn that kind of money? He isn't going to earn that kind of money against anybody. He isn't that kind of draw where he can demand that kind of money. He isn't. And it's only the likes of Usyk, and again, only because Usyk's got the other belt, so it's an undisputed fight. If there wasn't an undisputed, how big would that fight be? Okay, but against AJ, that's probably his biggest payday. Again, to go back onto the previous question about Saudi Arabia, that stupid amounts of money. They don't even need titles for that one. So Fury could lose to Usyk or however, and the fight with Joshua will still be big. Fury could beat Usyk, but that doesn't mean that he could beat AJ. So people will still want to see that. They will. Now, ultimately, will he fight AJ? I don't know. I'm not even convinced he's going to fight Usyk. It seems that he just wants to make the most amount of money that he can and get out. He wants to be a celebrity, and we know that because that's why he's done that Netflix thing, right? And within there, you can tell why he didn't want to fight Usyk, which is why he fought Chisora instead, because it's a good end to the Netflix show, isn't it? It's a fight that he could win. Whereas if they'd have done all that filming for like the best part of like 6 months or whatever it was, or a year, and then finish up with him fighting Usyk and loses to Usyk, it's not a good end to the show, is it? It really isn't. But him fighting AJ is something that should have happened a long time ago, but Fury didn't want to. He didn't want to. And, you know, you can draw the horse to water, but can you force it to drink? You can't. Fury's one of these kind of guys that, unfortunately, as good as what he isn't the confident guy that some of his fans will make out that he is. Because if he is, he wouldn't really care. He'd just get in there and fight Usyk. He'd get in there and fight AJ. The fights would have already happened. So, listen, I don't know if he's ever going to fight AJ. I have absolutely no clue. None whatsoever. I wouldn't put money on it that I couldn't afford to lose. I'll put that much. But for sure, I can certainly see Fury retiring and then claiming that he'll beat AJ. Then, of course, you've got like some of his little rats out there running around, giving Tyson Fury a victory over AJ, even though he's never fought AJ. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to boxing. Is what it is. Ralph Bob, do you think Dillian Whyte would still be credible if he wins his case, or they try and throw him under the rug? And if he fails, where do we go from there? Well, if he fails, then you know he's probably looking at a 2, possibly a 4-year ban. That's career over. At his age, it's very, very unlikely we'll see him return to the ring. But he's still got other avenues anyway. Of course, he's still managing fighters like Fabio Wardley and Alan Babbage and Thomas Carty and whatever else. So he's always going to be in boxing, but yeah, I mean, if he gets found guilty, if he can't prove his innocence and he gets found guilty, then yeah, his career over. But if he does win the case, well, it'd just be the same as what it is with, say, Conor Benn currently, what it has been with Dillian Whyte previously with the UCAS situation. It doesn't matter whether you clear your name. People have it in their minds. They've already made the decision, even without even knowing anything about this particular situation. People have already made their decision. He's guilty for a lot of people. So him winning the case would just be a case of, oh, well, Eddie Hearn won it for him, or money talks and whatever else. So for me, I think it's probably career over anyway. Hopefully he proves his innocence, and if he does, I'd like him to continue boxing. But, you know, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to social media nowadays. Everybody's got an opinion and everyone's going to stick to it, you know. But of course, they don't always hold that same energy when it comes to one of their favourite fighters. They have a totally different energy. But yeah, it's a difficult situation. It really is. And hopefully we'll find out a little bit more about it as time goes along. And not just because I speak with Dillian once in a while, but I want all fighters to clear themselves. I want Alicia Baumgardner to clear herself in that as well. I wanted Zolana Tete to prove his innocence and whatever else. But if it turns out they can't, well, they'll have to take the ban, aren't they? Celtic Warrior, big up. I know that IBF, WBC, WBO light heavyweight championship was postponed with champion Artur Beterbiev and challenger Callum Smith. But I'm picking Smithy for an upset. Am I crazy for thinking this, Born Icons? You're not crazy for thinking this, because I also feel that. I think that Callum Smith can beat Artur Beterbiev. I do. Stylistically, he's big enough and strong enough to do it. As long as he doesn't just go on the back foot and soak up shots. If he comes forward and puts it on Beterbiev, then yeah, there's a very real chance that Callum Smith can win that one. No reason in the world why he can't. Beterbiev will obviously be the favourite. You know, everybody he's fought, he's knocked out. Ante Yard did very well against him, but Ante Yard, he's not the best around, is he? He's not even the best in the UK at light heavyweight. But he did well against Beterbiev because he gave it a go. And if Callum Smith gives it a go, there's a very real chance that he's going to beat Beterbiev. And again, let's not forget that Beterbiev, with all the postponements and all these kind of things, isn't helping his cause. As each month goes past, he's getting older. So why not? And finally, Snow Cone, big up. Canelo versus Charlo. Who you got and why? Well, I've got Canelo. I do. I know Charlo is bigger than Canelo. Jamel is, of course, an undisputed champion. But I think one of the reasons why I say it is firstly because Canelo is very, very good, but also because we've seen Charlo lose to Tony Harrison. He got him back in the rematch for sure, but he was getting battered in that fight. He was losing that fight until he landed a good shot. But Charlo, listen, he's good. He is very good, but I don't really see him even testing Canelo, to be honest. And it's one of those kind of moves, though, because he's undisputed at 154 and Canelo's undisputed at 168, and then we fight at 168, there's a built-in excuse. And this is what I said for the past couple of years. These fighters over on PBC, they don't want to fight each other. They want to fight Canelo because they'd rather lose their undefeated record or just lose in general, in like a Charlo's case, because it's okay to lose when it's somebody like Canelo. Oh, it's Canelo I lost to. Oh, well, I lost to Canelo because he was so much bigger than me. Because I moved up to divisions that, you know, I tested myself in. Plus for the fact they're getting a huge heap ton of money. But would I write off that Charlo could beat Canelo? No, of course not. Charlo is very good. He is very good. Is Canelo slipping a little bit over his last few fights? You'd probably say, yeah, maybe. So if there's going to be a chance for Charlo to ever beat Canelo, it's probably now. And I do think that Jamel Charlo is better than Jamal Charlo as well. So I think that he's actually taken on the tougher brother, in my opinion, at least anyway. Anyway, that is it for now. I'll catch you on the next video. As I said, if anybody wants to be a channel member, description box. Catch you in one.